In a world of clickbait and polarization and outrage culture,
Stop scrolling.
Death threats,
Her emails.
the term woke.
You hate all white people.
Talking about the important stuff can feel dangerous. Welcome to RnR with me, Courtney Act. And if you came for rest and relaxation, you're in the wrong place, because today we're going to talk about the scary stuff. The creator and star of MTV Decoded, writer and correspondent of The Nightly Show. She's a writer, an actress, and highly sought-after public speaker. Please welcome Franchesca Ramsey.
RnR.
Thank you for being here.
It's so well to see you in person and not on my phone.
That's how I feel. I've been watching you on my phone and on my computer for at least 9 years.
Oh my gosh, what is time? I feel the exact same way, so it's really cool to be here.
I remember watching some of the videos that you did and I felt empowered and educated.
Yeah.
And I kind of have that, like, if that video can just change one person's life. So it did.
Oh, wow.
And I'm really interested in that conversation about being effective versus being right.
Yeah.
And I always feel like your videos were really effective and then led people to want to learn more.
It's definitely a hard balance, because when we want to try and start difficult conversations with people, we have to leave space for them to kind of stumble through what their feelings are. And I think that was what Decoded did so well, is by using pop culture references, by using humor, but also using myself as an example to say, here's a place where I had to learn, here's a place where I had to grow, here's something that I didn't always get correct, to kind of open the door for people to be honest about their shortcomings too.
Take on the summer with nutritious 2-minute meals from Factor. You just heat up and enjoy, and it gives you more time to do what you want, like taking a hike or hopping on a week. Factor meals pack in the flavor, and there is no fuss. So get started at factormeals.com/Courtney50off and use code Courtney50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. When you make those videos, I imagine you think of hopeful good that they will do in the world.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I'm making a video, I'm like, wow, maybe this will be the one that changes the world and everything will be all right.
Yeah, listen, I think we need more people to have that perspective going into content creation, especially right now. But I am of the mind that helping people to see things in a different way, even if it doesn't necessarily open their minds completely to the subject at hand, that little tiny push can help them get there later on.
Yeah, because it's important, I think, to focus on effectiveness.
Yes.
The right now are very effective.
Yeah.
But they're not very right.
Yes.
Well, in
Well,
whose
I also
opinion?
think it's a matter of it's easier to sell someone a lie than
Why
it
is
is.
that?
I think because the truth is often complicated and messy and not easily digestible, and people would prefer the easy answer. It's easy to say, oh, you have a trouble getting a job because of undocumented immigrants, when the reality is probably a lot more complicated than that.
Sometimes I also feel that the right is really good at using people's confirmation bias to tell a mistruth.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So they're like, oh, you don't have a job? Well, this is
It's
why.
those guys. Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. I mean, I don't want to sit here and give them tons of compliments, but they're good at packaging things, the snappy little sayings and things like that. And I often find myself frustrated when it does come to more heavier, weightier topics, that the explanations can be a little too bogged down with terminology that gets difficult for people to parse. Versus her emails. Okay, well, that's straight to the point. I don't need to think about anything else.
In an algorithmic world that pays off outrage culture and clickbait and polarization, how do people cut through? How are people cutting through?
Unfortunately, negativity is what demands clicks online. And I think what is helping people to break through, unfortunately, is sometimes the kind of bait and switch, where people are like, stop, don't stop scrolling. And then they kind of change the topic to kind of lure you in. And honestly, even though I am a social media girly, I've been really enjoying trying to have more offline community and offline face-to-face interactions, because unfortunately some conversations online, it's just really hard when you're asking someone to coalesce their ideas into 240 characters, right? I'm very direct online, and sometimes people can read that as oh my God, why are you mad at me? And I'm like, I'm not mad, I just don't have a lot of characters, so I can't be like, hey, I understand, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this is what it is. I don't have the much. I might do like an LOL at the end, but
or an emoji just so they know.
But sometimes that doesn't even get the point across. It's like, oh, why are you doing those big eyes at me?
Like,
no, I'm not mad.
If you're writing a negative comment in any aspect, but certainly in content where somebody's trying to move the narrative forward or to educate or to understand, I think about this idea of power and control a lot, and that someone writing a negative comment is probably feeling a lack of power in their own life.
Oh, 1,000%.
And that writing this comment gives them I don't know whether I'm a typewriter, but writing this comment gives them a sense of power back.
I think about that all of the time.
Yeah.
I so often will see a negative comment from someone, go to their page, and like all they're doing is saying negative stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's that people don't necessarily feel heard in their real lives. And that doesn't make the negativity that they're sharing any better. But when you realize like you have put a lot of time into just being nasty to random people all over the internet, like doesn't really sound like you have a fun real life, like to put this much time and effort into it. And so for me, that's helped me kind of distance myself from the immediate feelings of like, oh, I'm really angry about this, I'm really offended or pissed off, to just go like, that sucks for you.
Yeah.
And I hope you work through whatever it is that you've got going on. And I often say it's almost like watching WWE. Like everyone's doing like the big performance, whereas like you don't really need to go that hard. You're doing it for the benefit of the audience. And I'm totally guilty of it too. Like I'm very sarcastic. I love a clap back, and sometimes they're well earned. But if you're talking to someone one-on-one, it kind of softens the approach because nobody else is listening and no one else can jump in. So
just remember that they can screenshot everything you say and then post it on Twitter.
That's true. That's true.
You have this great balance of the YouTube videos and the social justice side, but then there's also other aspects that feel like they're just for your community, like your ukulele and your song.
Oh, yeah. I started playing ukulele during the pandemic. I started taking lessons.
I did too, but I didn't succeed as much as you did.
You know, my pandemic goals were to do a split and play ukulele. I can only play ukulele.
Okay. I mean, 1 out of 2 ain't bad.
It's not happened. I, had a brief period where I thought I was going to be a professional musician, like in high school, college. And so it's been really fun to get back to, especially so many people are like, I didn't know you could sing. And I'm like, how did you not? I mean, look at me. But it's been really fun to share that part of my personality and my talent.
I want to ask Franchesca to play that ukulele.
Yay!
Fly in the uke. Does she have a name?
Yes, her name is Lele, like ukulele.
Lele.
Yeah. So this is The Leopards Ate My Face.
Okay.
Yeah. I never thought leopards would eat my face. No, I never thought the leopards would eat my face. We bonded over bigotry, but they weren't supposed to turn on me. No, I never thought the leopards would eat my face. Slow it down now. I never thought the leopards would eat my face. No, I never thought it would happen to me. Bonded over bigotry, but they weren't supposed to turn on me. No, I never thought the leopards would eat my face. Yay! Yay!
That was impressive. It's not an easy task to just sit and start singing cold. So, thank you.
I mean, I did warm up, but but thank you.
Summer is my season. More sun, more light, more time to do all of the things that you love. And you know what you don't want to be doing all summer is spending hours cooking inside. That is where Factor comes in. Factor's chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals are ready in just 2 minutes. Factor has got 45 weekly menu options, and you can pick gourmet meals that fit your summer gains and goals. Choose from options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, and more. And Factor meals arrive fresh and they're ready to eat, perfect for any active lifestyle. With nutritious breakfasts, on-the-go lunches, premium dinners, and guilt-free snacks and desserts, Factor has got your whole day covered. I just had the 3-bean vegan chili with cornbread casserole. It was so good. And I just love that I can get a whole meal hot and ready to go in just 2 minutes in the microwave. Get Factor if you want all of the flavor and none of the fuss so you can enjoy your summer. summer. Get started at factormeals.com/Courtney50off and use code Courtney50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code Courtney50off at factormeals.com/Courtney50off for 50% off plus free shipping. On YouTube recently, you've been doing a lot more like longer form than TikTok content.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Yeah. I love that YouTube is the platform that has just sustained. Like from the beginning until now,
Yeah.
it's just been constant. It's had ups and downs.
For sure. And so many people now actually watch YouTube on their television, like through the YouTube TV app.
Yeah.
That's where most people are watching it. So it really has kind of lent itself to more of like a seasonal format, which I think is really cool. And it's more of like an appointment watching versus TikTok. You're just like a scroll.
Yeah.
And YouTube's like, I want to go watch this person's content. Oh, new videos every Friday. I'm going to go tune in.
I want to watch RnR with Courtney Act on
Yes,
YouTube.
please do.
A lot of your work has been sort of social justice-y on YouTube, certainly. Do you ever feel tired of it? Or
Yeah. I've been trying to quit.
Right.
I've been trying to quit for quite a bit of time, which is a big part of why the music thing has happened. Yeah, I mean, when I was doing Decoded, I did Decoded for 5 years or almost 6. And I voluntarily stopped doing that show. And a big part of it was just feeling so burnt out, you know, and I'm so thankful and appreciative to hear from you about how it spoke to you. But I dealt with a lot of harassment because of that show.
Right.
And so I really just felt like I just don't know if I can keep doing this. And I'm so thankful that we've got 90-something episodes and they get shown in colleges and high schools around the world. And so the work is still there for people to enjoy. But for me, I kind of felt like I really want to be known as a comedian and as an actor. And as thankful as I am that I had like this great breadth of work, I kind of was being put into this like educator space. And sometimes I was like, I have a degree in graphic design. Like, I don't know how to answer some of these like deep questions people were sending me.
The hate, I assume, is in the comment section?
Oh, yeah. But I mean, I was also getting people like cutting up videos of me and making me say things that I hadn't said and drawing like vulgar pictures of me. I had to have security at my public speaking events because people would show up. It is so interesting, again, the space that we're in right now where people talk about social justice and have been able to create these incredible careers for themselves. And I think, wow, man, if I had had that kind of support 10 years ago when I was creating content, my content was pretty friendly and smiley, but people were like, you hate all white people. And I'm like, that's not true.
Did you watch the video?
Did you watch what I said at all? But I will say something that's been really interesting is pretty much anytime I have a viral TikTok, I get an apology from a former hater. And it's always like some dude who's like, I was a really sad teenager and I used to watch these nasty videos about you and I just want to say that I'm sorry. And so I've been asking them to donate to different charities. I'm like, you want to say sorry? I have a song.
Put your money
Instead of
where
an
your
empty
mouth is.
apology, write a check. And so I say, here's where you can donate. Just put it as a donation from me. And I will accept your apology. And, you know, it's been really heartening. A few people have taken me up on it. So I'm of the mind that people can change if they want to.
Which is kind of the goal.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to poo-poo on it.
Yeah.
I just think it's always funny that it's always seems to coincide with a video of mine doing well. And just remembering, like, you just never know who's going to be exposed to your content. And people are like, wow, she's still around.
Yeah.
And having that moment of like, oh, wow, I'm thinking differently about the way that I interpreted her or her work. And so, you know, I'm of the mind that time reveals all. So
I remember having an opinion at one point being like, just don't read the comments, which is fine. Or like, they're just comments. Like there's just somebody at home. But then I had a situation in Australia where I was on a television show reading a book, like a children's book. And I had a bunch of different celebrities like read a lovely children's book about a girl who wanted to wear a suit to her birthday party.
Okay.
A senator in Australia held up a printout of me and said to the commissioner of the ABC, why is the ABC using government money to groom children?
Oh, God.
And I found myself in this national conversation and like on Twitter, veiled death threats, like some people out the front of the ABC kind of shaking their fists. And that's when I realized, like, all it takes is one crazy with a baseball bat or whatever.
It just takes one. And I do think it's unfortunate you had to have that experience to have, like, a different perspective about the way that people were talking about you online. But the reality is that, like, when people are saying nasty things about you, even if they're a small minority, they feel so much louder than the positive because unfortunately we're not as vocal about things that we love as we are about things we hate. I often use the example of, you can eat at a restaurant 100 times and have a great experience, but the one time there's a hair in your salad, that's when you go online and you're like, this place is terrible.
Yeah.
It's like, you didn't say all of the positive things. So those nasty messages can feel really, really loud.
Do we play their game? Well, obviously, we don't want to play their game, but we don't want to. How do we be effective in this world that we're in? I'm not expecting you to have all the answers, by the way. I'm just...
I mean, I just am of the mind that some of those really difficult conversations have to happen in person, and they have to come from people that look like them, especially if it's somebody that they look up to, someone that's authoritative, someone that they work with, for example.
I mean, I have gay male friends who, like, you'll hear, like, a comment, a drop about, like, trans people, and I'm like, hang on, let's talk about that. And then I sit there and I sort of explain different facets and like sort of sometimes thinking of like as a conduit or like something that goes between two different worlds to try and help explain someone else's experience.
I try to remind people that if you don't have the space to take that on, you're not necessarily a bad person. Like for me, stepping away from Decoded was part of that. But there are sometimes when you're in situations and you're like, I'm at the grocery store. Like, I'm not really trying to do this with you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to check out. Like, this is just not the time
Does that happen?
So I have braids now, but I have been bald for like 5 years. But before that, I had locks. And my hair was very long, and I would have people touch my hair all of the time. I'd be on the subway, I'd be in a meeting, and it would turn into, please don't touch my hair. Well, why? And it's like, I don't really feel like I have the space or energy to explain this to you. I'm gonna check out. And I'm just gonna say like, keep your hands to yourself versus like having a whole conversation about, well, like, I am not an animal. Like, and so similarly, I think everyone has to kind of pick their battles. And I think when you know that you have the time for it, because it's draining, it's a lot of hand-holding, it's a lot of, letting people get their feelings out and say the wrong thing that normally you might have a more of a knee-jerk reaction to, and it's emotionally exhausting.
Is the cause, is it education? Is it like the education system?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of these conversations about privilege and about identity don't really happen till you're in college. And that's only if you decide to take those courses, right? Like if you're studying something that has nothing to do with the humanities or
accounting.
Exactly. You're probably not going to take a women's studies class. And I really wish that that stuff was mandatory. And unfortunately, right now, a lot of that stuff is being removed from our school systems. I'm from South Florida, and in my home state, they've gotten rid of African-American studies in high schools.
It's interesting the terms that we use to describe things. Like the term woke, right? Began meaning one thing and then has been sort of co-opted by the right to mean another thing.
Yeah. I mean, I have just said many a times, I feel like when people use woke, they're just trying to say the N-word. Because like when you ask people, can you define it? And they really seem to struggle because it kind of is revealed that they're just using it to say, I don't like that thing, not necessarily knowing what woke actually means. Like if you're going to use these words, because they're used as pejoratives, whereas woke initially meant staying aware, like being aware of what's going on. Being awake to the realities of our world, right? The ideas that like there's injustices. Staying woke was an idea of like being aware of those injustices. And now woke is just used to say different, diverse things that you don't like.
There's often a different set of facts, like what we're talking about and what they're talking about. Sometimes we're using the same words, sometimes we're talking about the same subject, but we're actually looking at a different set of facts.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, again, not to sit here and like glaze the right, but they're really good at marketing. And and a good example is like Obamacare. They really got to convince their base that Obamacare was a bad thing, when in reality, it's also the Affordable Care Act. They created this name, Obamacare, because they knew that the word just being associated with Obama would make them not like it. And now we're seeing, the repealing or the attempted repeal of the Affordable Care Act. And there are lots of people who rely on it and did not realize that it was the same thing as Obamacare. So to your point, we're talking about the same thing, but you guys have been told, oh, it's associated with Obama, so it's bad and you shouldn't like it, when in reality, it's just giving you access to healthcare, and that's a good thing.
Would you say that they never thought the leopards would eat their face?
Oh my God, yeah. It's really unfortunate that some people have bought into the lie that, okay, this negative thing is only going to affect this community, and that's why they're okay with it. There's a severe lack of empathy there, and the realization that, oh, I actually supported policies that are going to have negative effects on me too. That's where the leopards eating faces came from. There's a 2015 meme by a writer by the name of Adrian Bott, and he posted on Twitter, "I never thought the leopards would eat my face," said the woman that voted for the leopards eating faces party. And so it's like, you knew what they were going to do. They said they were going to do this.
Tin.
And now it's come back to you, and you are shocked, dismayed, flabbergasted. Yeah, that's what you wanted.
Do we have to let the leopards eat people's faces for a little while for them to realize that
Yeah, I don't think we have a choice.
we've tried everything? We've exhausted all options. And
Yeah.
I think in many ways trying to save people from themselves.
Yeah, 1000%.
All of these people who voted, because they didn't want Obamacare, who
Yeah.
are now realizing that this affects their livelihood and their healthcare and everything
Yeah.
like that. It's like, this is what we meant.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think empathy is a huge part of it. And unfortunately, for a lot of adults, it's like, how do you teach someone to care about something that doesn't affect them or that they perceive won't affect them? And I wish I knew the answer to that. But I think that's really difficult for people to wrap their minds around. Even when I talk about, trans rights, people are like, oh, so you're trans? And I'm like, no, I'm just a cis person that cares about other people.
Yeah.
That's difficult for some people to wrap their minds around.
Empathy can come from storytelling, certainly.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that we might be struggling is because there is this siloing of opinion due to algorithms.
Yeah.
There are so many shows now about so many different experiences so that people who are from a minority experience can see themselves reflected and represented.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, other people aren't watching those shows.
One of the things that I love about TikTok is that I have been exposed to so many different types of people. But to your point, my FYP, my For You page is very tailored to me and my interests, and someone else is getting a totally different experience on the internet. And that's one of the things I love about TV is the ability to tell untold stories and expose people to different types of ways of life. My hope is that in the midst of all this kind of turmoil happening, a lot of artists are being empowered to create more. This is unfortunately the time where artists really thrive. Like, they are feeling disillusioned with the world, and they're finding all the more reason to tell their stories. So my hope is that that's kind of like the silver lining of the moment that we're in.
Thank you so much for coming in today and
thank you for having
being
me.
a part of this conversation. I know that you've made some merch.
Yes.
Oh, here we go.
Flying in some merch.
Flying the merch.
No, I never thought. What's fun about this is it's like, if you know, you know. Not everybody's gonna get the joke. I also brought a mug.
Did you draw the...
Yeah, I
gorgeous?
drew everything. This is like, oh, the leopards ate your face with like a shady little leopard. I have buttons too.
It's a dog whistle, but like a good one.
Yes,
a leopard
exactly.
whistle. You can follow Franchesca at Cheska Lee on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
Yeah.
And you can follow the show, Courtney RnR. You can email us, courtneyrnr@gmail.com. And I am at Courtney Act. So I'll see you next time on RnR.
Bye.
It is easy to savor more this summer with nutritious 2-minute meals from Factor. You just heat them up and enjoy. And then you've got more time to do what you want, like turning a look at a pool party or listening to a great new podcast, hosted by an Australian beauty. Get started at factormeals.com/Courtney50off and use code Courtney50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Here's some more to plug up your brain. Ad-free versions and extended episodes of RnR with Courtney Act are available on Mum Plus Gold at patreon.com/Mum Plus. RnR with Courtney Act is produced by Moguls of Media, aka Mum, hosted by Courtney Act, produced by Big Dipper, edited by Griffin Dunn, theme song and audio supervision by Will Pitts, engineering and technical direction by Margot Padilla, media and design support by Stone Cole, set design by Ara Sevilla, production assistance from Austin Garcia, chairs furnished by Ellison Studios. Executive produced by Alaska Willem Big Dipper, Camille Stennis, and Joe Cilio. Recorded at Forever Dog Productions.
Oh.
Mom!